Just a bloke in a bar. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, also The Locker Room. I don't know what to call it anymore. It's been that long, but it is brought to you by Bloke Beer, the greatest beer in all the land. It's Aussie Spirit in a can. Even, Aussie Spirit, English Spirit, it's the same thing to a degree. Isn't it, Jimmy?
To a degree. It's a great beer, though. I'll tell you that for sure.
Thank you.
I do enjoy responsibly drinking it.
Absolutely. So, brought to you by Bloke Beer. Head to our website. We've got a store located there. It'll show you the nearest stockist. But let's get to the great man, James Graham, mate. You're a podcast mogul now, mate.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of describing me. So I've got my... our podcast with a couple of guys, Charlie and Tony, called The Buy Round. So yeah, that's going okay. And we've got the Head Noise one as well, which is a bit of a deep dive into all things concussion related and how we tackle those issues. So I'm really enjoying it, mate. Yeah, really enjoying it.
What's something that I guess has surprised you? Because like when you're playing footy, I bet you didn't think I'm going to be interviewing people after rugby league, like I'm going to sit down and be an interviewer. Is there something that surprised you in the process of starting the podcast?
Yeah, mate, do you know what? I know it's the old cliche, but I kind of thought playing rugby would last forever.
Yeah.
Playing football would last forever.
Yeah.
And I'll worry about it later. And really, I always thought I'd just transition straight into coaching, like just go, the game's all I've ever known since I was 8 years of age. I left school, I had my GCSEs, which is like basically this equivalent of HSC, continued some further education, but then I had an opportunity to go full time, and I was like, well, of course.
100%.
It's all I've ever known. And maybe if life had panned out slightly differently, I would have taken that like assistant coach's role or under 20s coach or whatever it may be. But it just didn't pan out that way and got exposed to other opportunities. And then just explored a few of those a little bit more. Took on a role with Triple M and in the media, and sort of the idea of a podcast had been brewing for a while. Obviously, I came on your show a while ago. The boom of podcasts, it seems to be the wave of the future or the way of the future. So I thought, well, why not? I feel I can contribute something of value in that space. But no, I certainly wouldn't have envisaged it while I was still playing, that I'd be interviewing some of the game's greats.
Mate, it's when you think about it, how lucky you are to be able to just sit down and hear stories from great men and women. Like, it's almost a privilege to a degree. Speaking of your podcast, The Buy Round, outside of obviously myself, what's been one that you've really been... What's one that's really been like, wow, what an incredible story that you would tell people that are listening right now to pause it and go and listen to that potty now?
Yeah, the Wayne Bennett one springs to mind. We've only been doing it for around about 2 or 3 months, so it is relatively new. But Wayne Bennett had never really spoken in depth to anyone before. Yeah. I was really grateful to him for giving me his time and the opportunity. I know he's not particularly fond of media interviews. Anyone that's seen his post-match press conferences would be able to vouch for that. So I was really grateful for Wayne to come on and speak and showcase the person that he is a little bit away from the media and to his football and to his players. He gave me a lot of great advice while I was playing under him for England and Great Britain. He continues to do that now. And yeah, he's someone who I think people should go and listen to and see a side of a person that is very seldom seen.
It's like when you think the name Wayne Bennett, it's like it's bigger than a person. It's like a concept that exists across an entire community that's impacted the landscape of England Rugby League, Australian Rugby League, sport in Australia. And then you're sitting across from the human being. It is really interesting, as you said, to hear the human being rather than the concept or the idea of what Wayne Bennett is. Because the idea of Wayne Bennett in a press conference after a game is different to the person that you're going to see in a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's by design. He's like that after a game. He's very intelligent person that knows not to answer for the sake of answering, and he knows there's games being played in the media. He plays some of that by playing everything with a straight bat.
Yep.
Just because you ask him a certain question doesn't mean he's going to give you the answer that you're looking for. And it might be short and sweet and succinct, but that's him. And yeah, on the podcast we were on, he opened up a little bit. He just telling us, a lot of people hear some of the stories about Wayne, but never from him. And just him, even to hear him explain why he does certain things, so why he emphasizes the point of war and battle so much and sacrifice. And I kind of knew what he was doing when I was there. I was like, I know what you've done here. But then to hear him explain about that, and then even things like he sits at the back of the bus, and like why he sits there, I was like, I kind of think what you're doing here. But then for him to go into that explanation of why, it was it was really interesting.
I was fortunate enough to be coached by Wayne at the Broncos. And like when you're younger, I was like a teenager, 18, 19, 20, I think. And at the time, there's certain things that he may do where you're like, I don't understand. Like, why are you doing this to me or that to me? And then as you get older and you get more intelligent, you go, oh, that was actually like a very planned decision by Wayne that was either testing me to see how to react, it might, kick rocks or whatever. And yeah, you're right. It's like super interesting to see. Calculator is the wrong word because I feel like calculator has like a very negative context to it. But I guess prepared.
Yeah, by design.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's designed to get or to test you to see how you respond to that situation. It does always fascinate me that when some players look back and go, oh, I was told I was too small, or I was told I was never going to make it. And I think, do you ever think that people told you that for a reason, to ignite that fire in you to prove people wrong? Because it's a massive motivating factor. Like a lot of us are motivated by proving others wrong, and we see it all the time. And I just wonder, some of those youngsters, if they get the red carpet treatment throughout their impressionable teenage years, do they fulfill their potential because they've been praised the whole way?
Yeah.
But then you get that kid they get told, nah, it's not for you. This, hang on, hang on, it's not for me. And that can be their driving motivation throughout their whole formative years. Yeah, they make it. It's told you so.
100%.
Like, good. I'm glad you told me so, because that's why I did it.
Absolutely. It's funny because I remember the specific times I was told I couldn't do it. I don't remember all the times I was told I could do it. Yeah. Even though I was told I could do it way more often than I couldn't do it. I remember I got sent to detention in year 7. Got told by, the principal was there and he's like, mate, if you keep doing this, what do you want to do with your life? I said, I want to be an athlete. And he said, come on, mate, what's the chances of that? I remember that shit. Yeah. And then fast forward, I was at like one of my first girlfriends. I was at her house and like, it's like a house party with like her parents, like not like a party, but you know what I mean? Just drinks or whatever. And this random dude, I don't know who he was, never saw him again, was like, I'd just been signed with the Broncos. He was like, what? You've been signed with the Broncos? You're way too small to play rugby league. And you remember that, but you don't remember all the positive ones. Yeah. And it's almost they're actually a positive one because it had more impact.
Well, I can remember even like talking to people about my ambitions, and you can see the look in their eye when they're like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
oh wow.
Really good. Like that's you want to be a professional rugby player. Yeah. Okay. Like they didn't have the balls to say like you're not going to make it, but it was kind of like that was their personality type, not to be so blunt and direct, or they didn't have that level of relationship with you, but you could see the sort of look of okay, like, good luck, mate. You're gonna need it. But it's funny how those things do stay with you, where the positive ones don't. It is funny like that, isn't it?
Now, today, the game. You retired 2 years ago now?
End of December 2020.
So roughly 2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 years,
What do you think about the state of the game right now? Because I would argue in the last 2 years, at least I'm not sure about Super League, but at least in the NRL, we've seen more changes probably since in the last 20 to 30 years ish than we've ever seen in the last 2 years. What are your thoughts on the state of the game right now?
I actually think the game's in a really good position. We've got things around concussion, which are circling towards the top of the priority list. I think we've come a long way. Classic example is the Sydney Roosters versus South Sydney playoff game. Arguably the world's best player is removed from the field to play for a Category 2. He doesn't return to the field after, 17, 18 minutes? I don't think that happens 5 years ago.
No way.
I don't think he's removed from the field at all. I think he continues on. So the game is making massive strides in that sense. Its profitability is high. Its unpredictability is high. We see these huge momentum swings in games. Obviously, Penrith, I think, are the best team at the moment, the best club at the moment, but they're by no means a shoo-in. The product, it's never going to please everybody. I think, and at different times I contradict myself with what I want the game to look like. And sometimes I don't know if you can have both. Like, yes, I want to. So the argument about video referees is very topical at the moment. So where do we want? Do we want the game to flow, but we also want the correct decision to be made? Like, can you have both? What's that best medium ground? Unfortunately, what's dominated in the headlines is scrap the bunker. Yeah. But then, and let the game flow. But then, okay, well, we're going to have human beings make mistakes, and we're going to have some shockers. Like, can you imagine? Well, it happened.
Captain's Challenge all the time.
Captain's Challenge comes into play, which I think that is brought in to get the correct decision, or the opportunity for the correct decision, but it slows the game down. So what do you want as a game? Like, even a couple of years ago, or maybe last year, I think it was Jackson Paulo, foot out of touch against the Bulldogs, South Sydney, missed it. So now every try goes to review. Can they speed that process up? I think they can. Like, for me, it's too delayed. The decision-making process, I believe, can be sped up, but because that is looking at the minutes played, the total amount of game time versus how long the game goes for. I think we're starting to see that exceed any previous records. That's due to the fact that we want to get these decisions right. So where do we hang our hat? A game that flows, or we get the decisions right? It's really difficult, and you're never going to please both sides of the argument, and you concentrate more on letting the game flow, then this side's going to get louder. But if you concentrate on getting the decisions right, the ones that want to see the game flow, they're going to get louder and louder and say, look, told you so, it's a mess. We're here for 3 hours. We're with the NFL. So it's very difficult. What I'd like to see, and people laugh at you about this, but game, we need rules. But I do want to see the game to flow as well. I think technology can help. I think the bunker at the right time. But as long as it's, I would say to the NRL that they need to come out and say, hey, this is, they designed the environment. They set the tone for the environment. So if we're going to keep the game flowing as well as keep the game flowing, we can't be then criticising the referees for missing things. Like, if we're not going to bring the bunker in if a player stays down, for instance, if we're going to ban the bunker, then all the stakeholders have to accept that it's for the greater good of the game, because we want a product that flows, and admit that sometimes we are going to get some things wrong. So, but the NRL need to. It's important that if I was there, that would be my message. But how that's delivered and who that's delivered to is really important. One of those being the fans, because I'm sure, like yourself, you speak to punters in the street, and they're so angry and about, it's their life. Football is their life. And they get so aggravated by a decision. It's like, why? It's like, well, maybe the NRL aren't communicating to its fans enough about, okay, well, you've got to accept that things are going to go wrong, or, well, the bunker comes in because we want the decision to be right. doesn't matter what the overriding goal is. It's about the communication.
I agree with you. It's so hard to find the balance between flow and the correct calls. Do you want 100% correct calls? I don't think we'll ever get that. So I don't think we should aim for that. But at the same time, you still want within reason. But I say this to a lot of the time. Look, we've had some shocking ref performances for sure, but we've also had shocking player performances. Yeah. So, like, to think that these refs are going to be of a higher standard than NRL players, well, I actually think we can't even expect that. NRL players are paid more and they've trained for longer at what they do. Refs aren't refs since they were 5 years old. On top of that, I always ask people, tell me a season where the best team didn't win. And it's very rare where you would say the grand final was won by a team that wasn't the best that year.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. I think there's a couple of points there. Well, so I look at the hand of God. People are still talking about that. And
the white and one?
No, Maradona.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what? I was at the rest. It's again, hand of God.
Yeah, well, people are still talking about that.
Yeah.
The hand of God with Maradona. People are still talking about that.
Yeah.
You know, if you get the decision right, change the course of history.
Yeah.
You look to take away those howlers, but you know, people want to. It's not just referees, because what referees are, they're authoritarian figures, and you know, naturally, we hold people in positions of authority to higher account. So, for example, if a police officer was to, you know, be caught speeding, you know, they'd be up in arms. How can you do that? You're supposed to uphold the standards of the community or whatever it may be. So I think we do hold people in positions of authority to higher account. It's just a natural psychological thing that we do. I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious, because logically speaking, you would say that. Well, the referees, yes, they're full-time, but they're not as experienced. We understand that the game is complicated. There's a lot going on, a lot for them to take in. They've got the pressure of the crowd, the players, all this interference. So we understand that rationally, but it's an emotional game, right? So, and when emotions are running high, you look for that person of, okay, you're in charge here. The referee is in charge of the game. They police the rules.
Yeah.
So we do hold them to higher standards of accountability, as opposed to the player that made a mistake. Sometimes the players, you know, they get a barrage of insults for making errors, but not more so than from the referee. So it's just, I think it's just an interesting societal way that we look for those people of authority and look to blame them if they don't get everything right.
Yeah, and that's where I land. It's like, it's the blame part. It's I look at most games, and there are some games for sure that you could say ref error, like for example Tigers, Cowboys.
Yeah.
Ref error, boom, there it is. And Jimmy Graham, one of the great calls on Triple M for that. It's a robbery. He's robbed him with a shotgun or something like that.
So a sawn off. A balaclava and a sawn off.
You cannot take this on attack.
Sideways, which denies Kyle Felt.
No!
That's a disgrace.
That is a disgrace.
That is a disgrace, Dan. That video ref says that was a shocker.
Should be game over.
Shocker.
Are you kidding?
Why are they? What are they challenging the full-time whistle?
Siren went.
Yes. They're challenging the fact that the full-time siren went. What are they challenging?
Ball's still in play.
There's no decision to challenge. It's just a tackle.
Val Holmes will have a shot to win the game.
That is a robbery. There has been a balaclava, a sawn-off shotgun, and someone's gone up to Townsville and robbed the Tigers of 2 points, Dan. That is a disgrace.
Now, like, that's where I go, boom, 100%. I agree with you. That's a ref's call that's dictated that match. But like most of the time, I go, like, most of the time, it's usually the team that, you know, deserves to win, won that game. And so, I don't know, I understand what you're saying in regards to, because they're in a position of authority, they are held to a higher standard. But it's more, I think I'm more working in the realm of like the blame.
Yeah.
You know, who's to blame for what has actually happened here? Is it the players that completed at 65%, or is it that one call in the first half that didn't go your way for a try?
Well, and again, for a coach or perhaps a fan, it is easier to blame.
It's
way easier to blame the referee than it is to take responsibility for, you know, how you've performed or how you've set the team up, or as a fan that you love this team.
Yeah.
You know, you view the game through, you know, your team's coloured glasses.
Yeah.
Like, you know, oh, the opposition were offside all day, but yeah, of course, your team were onside and playing by the rules, and the other team weren't. So.
They're all grubs, but your team's got no grubs in it. That's that's the one I love.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, this team's a bunch of grubs, like grubs.
Those throwaway lines, and we love that. We love those. We love those fans that you know, they can't see the wood for the trees because they just love their team. Like that's passion.
That's why we're so good.
That. That's why we're such. That's what brings. That's why we love sport, because of these people that they know, But how dare you say anything about that? And even you look to a guy like Latrell Mitchell,
perfect.
Like he came through at the Roosters. They love him.
Yeah,
he's the best. You fast forward, he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's gonna, he's gonna be a Rooster forever.
He won his premierships,
and then he goes and plays for the red and green of South Sydney. It's like, what? Now we're gonna boo him every time he touches the ball. It's like, it's just funny that. But they have their heroes, but they love the colours. That's what it comes down to. It's the club. And of course, easy to blame a referee. Of course, they cost us because my players are perfect. There's no way there's no way. If my team, if my players didn't have that idiot out there with the whistle, we would have won.
It's you're right. That passion is a core ingredient to the game's success. Because if you don't have the passion, the game doesn't succeed.
It's nothing without passion.
Now, speaking of passion, were you a young, passionate rugby league player, or were you a footballer, as it would have been called football over there for you, soccer? Growing up for you, was it always rugby league, or was it?
Yeah, it was. I grew up in Liverpool, where it was all footy or soccer, as it's known over there. Oh, it's footy over there. But I used to play with me brothers and my mates, but probably was lacking in a little bit of ability. I had a decent strike.
I think you might have been a bit too aggressive for rugby.
Slightly too aggressive, and my touch.
Really?
My touch was. It let me down. It really did. That was.
Did you used to get nervous when like a long ball was coming to you?
Yeah, there's not much control there, mate. And I can really appreciate what those footballers do, because the level of skill is actually insane. And like when you grow up in a place like Liverpool, because everyone plays, the standard is so high.
Crazy,
we used to like knock around with some lads that like trialed in like 5th division and couldn't make it. And we play 5-a-side with them. And it was like, for us, it was like Messi had turned up to this 5-a-side.
Just skinning everyone.
Just like, what? Like, how didn't you make it?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, for like a 5th division team, Southport.
Yeah.
Like you're amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like that's anyway. Long story short, basically, my dad came from an area called Maryport, which is in Cumbria. He moved down with my mum to Liverpool and sort of ushered me in that direction. And I felt that my natural attributes were suited to the game of rugby league, and I loved it. It was love at first scrum, and then there was that
love at first scrum. I like that.
Yeah, it was that passion at first. Like I was competitive by nature. I felt at home on a rugby league field. I could. It seemed to suit my personality type. It suited the attributes that I had. But then as I started to progress, I sort of realised that I was big, but not ridiculously big. And probably wasn't that strong, but I was conditioned well. And then I also realised that I needed another avenue. So I became more of a thinker and a footballer. So that combination of passion and football knowledge. Like I was a student of the game. Like I would watch things, and learn from people. So when I got sort of introduced to the fringes of the first team, coming and training like the summer holidays over there, I'd see people like it was Darren Britt, and see how he had these attributes to like play short and play out the back. So that's interesting. Like that's another way of applying my trade if I want to make it as a middle, because like I say, I was never going to be the old school battering ram. I knew that I needed to play with footwork and skill and conditioning as my like fundamental elements and my greatest attributes. were going to be based on those. And as well, like, I am just a big fan at heart. Like we talk about the fans being passionate. I was the fan that was, you know, on the wall of Nosey Road when I was a kid, like watching Saints every week.
Yeah, wow.
I lived in Liverpool, but we, you know, after our games on the Sunday in St Helens, most of the time I'd go and watch them. So I was very passionate. One of the things that I didn't like as a fan was seeing players that appeared to not try, and not care, and hey, I'm not knocking them, but I just didn't like it. So I always thought, like, I want to be a player. I want to be a player that I wouldn't be upset at myself if I was to be watching.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that whole, you know, when I was a player and I'd hear some fans get upset that players were smiling and shaking hands with the opposition, I was like, you don't understand. Like, I do care a lot. I'm going to go home and not be able to sleep 100%. But now as I get further away and I really start appreciating what these fans really sacrifice to be a big fan, I go, you know what? You kind of do owe it to them to at least show them that you care. Yeah. You know, you may care, but you got to show them that you care.
Yeah, you 100%. Like, you got to appreciate that. For a lot of people, this is like a big factor of their life. Yeah. Like, people revolve their lives around.
It's a good week or a bad week.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Your week revolves around it. Your holiday planning revolves around it. Weddings, Christmases, not Christmases, but weddings, birthdays, all that sort of stuff revolves around this. There's a huge amount of sacrifice. There's plenty of other, you know, things in society that they could spend their hard-earned money on, and you know, rugby league fundamentally is a working class game, and that's never been lost on me. So I always thought, well, I've got to go out there and at least look like I'm trying, because again, I don't want to be that player that the young James Graham would be pissed off at, to be like, he just doesn't care, that lad. Like, what's he doing?
Well, you definitely succeeded in that, bro. Definitely always looked like you cared. I mean, was that a weapon that you used even coming through the grades? Yes, you were conditioned. Yes, you had, you know, footwork. Yes, you could ball play to a degree. But I would say your best trait is your tenacity. You know, is that a learned thing or is that a natural thing for you?
More natural, but then I had to, like, really consider how I used it. I didn't always use it to my advantage at times. Sometimes my emotions could clearly get the better of me. But I was probably quite a passionate pick. Well, it's that passion / competitive nature. So I wanted to win. So how do I win? By, like, imposing my will on people, imposing my passion, making the care factor more important. That's probably where it comes from, is that competitiveness, and wanting to win, and all those little things would come with that.
And so you're growing up and you signed with Saints as a junior in year 2000. At what point and age did you really feel? Did you watch NRL growing up or just Super League?
Both.
Both.
Yeah,
okay.
I was as much as I could get, like, in those impressionable teenage years.
Yeah.
As much as I could get.
Yeah,
in fact, I tell a story with Gordon Tallis, was on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. Nicely filmed here, by the way.
Yeah.
I got the orange and black Nike boots because of him.
Oh, really?
The Broncos team.
Yeah, wow.
Like, there was a massive level of obsession. I remember coming here when I was 15 on a tour, and buying, like, every dollar in my pocket went on NRL gear.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, I bought jerseys. I bought a Nutri-Grain Steeden ball.
Oh, really?
Like, because we couldn't get them back home.
Yeah.
And it was, like, precious to me. So it was like, I never kicked it.
Really?
I never left the house. It was like, no, that's so important to me. Like, what? It's just a
ball.
Nutri-Grain Steeden ball that you couldn't get. It was like $80 as well.
What do you think it represented something to you? Like,
I bought like DVD, like the best of the Footy Show DVD from, like, the decade.
The classic time.
Yeah, like, just watching it all. It was just, I was obviously being in England, we're very tribal. Like, I support St Helens and no one else. So I'd be very cautious of ever having any other team's kit on other than St Helens.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, you don't want to be, like, I'd never wear a Wigan shirt. Warren, never. I think I had a Bradford Bulls jersey once.
Yeah.
But they were a bit further away, so that was maybe deemed as
Okay.
But yeah, I felt like coming to Australia, I was just an NRL fan.
Yeah, wow.
I used to love watching, funnily enough, Blacklock and Mundine. Like me and two gingers in St Helens would pretend to be Blacklock and Mundine.
Good.
We probably didn't quite have the pace of them, but that's who we'd try and emulate. I'd always loved and admired the NRL, but loved Super League as well. So I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
Like, probably good thing for my parents that they didn't have, the 24-hour rugby league channels that they have now. They couldn't get it there because
wouldn't have left the house.
I'd have just been locked in. Instead, I was focusing on that and Championship Manager or whatever it was.
Just quickly with the Mundine Blacklock, what a good example of bridging cultures. You know, like, because you're pretending to be someone that's from a totally different world.
Yeah.
And you love them for. I mean, that's what rugby league's all about.
Yeah.
It's an even playing field.
It is, and it does so much. This is almost going to sound like a bit cheesy, but like I played because I love the sport, but then it's probably not until I've looked back and reflected on my career and the impact that sport can have where I've really appreciate what it can bring. We were speaking earlier about the documentary and how politics interfere and people look to blame, even speaking about how people look to blame and how we can create division off the most simplest thing, playing Donkey Kong. Creates division. Now there's division in society, but sport has probably the unique ability to bring people together. So when I was playing at the Bulldogs, it's the area of Belmore has changed over the years. There's a lot of Anglo-Saxons or white people that grew up supporting the Bulldogs. That sort of demographic has changed. That's now a different demographic that support the Bulldogs, but it's a very mixed group of people. Now, getting those people to agree outside of being Bulldogs fans may be different. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for them, but I'd be prepared to guess that there might be some division amongst the people that support Canterbury in other aspects of life. Take you to the 2014 qualifying semi-final against Penrith. We beat them. That's all at the door. You're in blue and white. We are going to hug, embrace, and kiss. We'd have different views on sexuality and religion and what the future may look like, what we want the future to look like for Sydney, Australia, the world, whatever. But there, it was, are you in blue and white? And if you are, I'm going to give you the biggest hug because we are going to the grand final. We're going to join together. I don't care about what that was parked at the door. And we were. The fans were just there embracing one another, and a couple of my partner, she was like, it was actually amazing to witness people just coming together, crying, hugging, kissing, celebrating, all because they were there with a blue and white badge on or with a blue and white jersey on under the banner of the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And you go, far, that's pretty. Like, is there another thing in society that can bring people together like that? I don't know if there is.
Honestly,
I don't know if there is, and that goes back to the point about what sport means for people. It's that way. Like, again, life's hard for a lot of people. People are going through their own individual struggles. We know about the struggles with mental health. People have illnesses. Life's cruel, throws some awful curveballs at people and can be so cruel. But then sport makes you forget. Just for that little passage of time, that snippet of time, you can go, oh, I'm here. And then when you get a referee injustice, you're like, this is my time. This was my time to actually forget all that crap going on in my life. I'm here. But to the point, it's pretty special what sport can do. It has the ability to bring people together, and it has the ability to make some pretty significant changes in society as well. If you look back through sport and history, it's certainly had a lasting impact on how society is structured.
Oh, mate, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely couldn't agree more. It's almost when after a victory, it's almost witnessing the best of humanity. Like, it's the all kind of history is for that second is a race, and you're living in the right now. That's a person. I'm a person. We love the same thing. We love each other for a second.
And even that, you know, so Roosters Souths, you know, local derby.
Yeah.
Like, lot of
so good.
You know, lot of split families, you know, split workplaces.
Yeah.
You're going into work on that Monday morning. There'd be people that are like, and then the South fans go in and they're like, and just that that workplace banter where it's like, and then all the stuff that comes with that, you know, it trickles out after the 80 minutes where it's like, well, hang on a minute, what about if he hadn't have done that, then we'd have won. But we scored. We scored with 11 though. We only need 11. You know, all these, and then like it affects people's lives. But it's the great thing about the NRL in particular. Like I think it doesn't overstep that mark where it's like, what you say?
Yeah,
like, you know, where I know in other areas of sport across the globe that you might want to be careful about.
Well, the football fans over in England.
Yeah. What do you say? What do you say about Tottenham?
Boss.
Yeah. So that's what I love about sport, and that's why it's important that we protect it and we look after it, because it is one of the only places that I'm aware of in society that has the ability to do that.
Now, you come over to Australia when you're about 15. You go back. You sign in the year 2000. Do you remember, you know, your first experience with a first grade squad?
Well, I can remember signing. I can remember being like a little bit like, oh, I've landed.
Yeah.
But obviously the hard work hadn't even begun.
Yeah.
So
would have been close.
But I was stoked at like getting a tracksuit.
Yeah.
Like that for me. I was like, fuck, got the trackie.
So
you know,
good.
Got like about 500 quid, something like that. Felt like the richest person in the world. Like I really did. Like we didn't come from much. We always had enough, but we didn't come from much. Mum and Dad did a great job with all 7 of us. But we never really had opportunity to splurge. But me getting 500 quid for like sign on, maybe £1,000, I can't remember. But this is amazing. And then I'd had some interactions with the first team. They'd like in the summer holidays back in England. Yeah, they get you to come in, and I made my debut before I was actually an official member of the first team.
Oh, okay.
So that was a bit.
Wow, how'd that come about?
Massive injury toll. So I think I was number like 31 in the squad.
Were you 17 years old?
17, yeah. I wasn't ready, but it was just.
Walk us through that, the debut and how it came about.
Mate, yeah, well, there was a heap of injuries with a few of the Saints lads, and I think there was 3 or 4 of us that made our debut that day. I was 17. Didn't feel like I was ready. It was so different, mate. Like now, like you get your shirt embroidered with James Graham. Yeah. This is your debut game and all this, and it's all presented to you.
Back then they just chuck you the jersey.
It was just number 31. I remember saying to the kit man, "Can I keep this jersey?" And it was like, I don't know, but it was my debut jersey. And it was like,
I don't think I kept my debut jersey either.
Yeah. Like, and you just hand it back, he'd wash it, and I'm like begging him for it. Like, begrudgingly gave me this jersey. But that was just that was just the time. There was no, and rugby league in England was very different to over here. But that was just a sign of the times. But I can remember some of those, like going in with the first team. It was very different then and now. You basically they bring you in, but
you're not really in.
You're just there to hold the pad, and then you soon get
coffees.
Well, hold the pad, collect the cones.
Yeah.
It was, you want to come and train with the first team, but you did. But I remember being like, well, when I get my chance, I got to take it. But then that added pressure, being like, I don't want to drop the ball, being sort of frightened to death to make a mistake. I don't know if that's the best environment to come into as a youngster, but it worked.
Do you remember anything from your debut game at all?
Yeah, I can remember it vividly. Only getting on after, came on I think after like 60 minutes, I can remember it went so quickly, and I can remember being like ridiculously tired after it, like fatigue, like my lungs were burning. It was just that step up in pace, step up in physicality. I'd played in the under 21s in England and played against some, like you could have 3 overage players. So I was 17 playing in the 21s. So I was already like most of the squads were like 2 or 3 years above me anyway. So I was young, but then they'd have some like full grown men come in. So I remember playing against the Bradford Bulls that was stacked at the time. It was the reserves /21s. They were bringing some players through back from injury, which was not a fun experience. So, yeah, but that's what it was, and managed to get through, and then started training full time with the team there. November after making my debut in the August.
What was your first preseason like? I kind of feel like, you know, you have your first preseason, for me personally anyway, and it's almost a bit of a daze. You're just like a young kid just trying to do your best. You don't know what's going on, but you're just ripping and tearing. And then like it's later on where you actually start to actively think about what I need to be a first grader or the standard that is required. Do you remember a moment where you realize, wow, this is a standard?
Yeah. So getting catapulted into that full-time environment where this is like now not a job, but you're gonna do double training sessions. So we'd only ever train in the evening, just like it is now. And you're at school, and then you finish school, and then you go and fire some weights in, quick field session. Obviously, you're very limited by time training into the evenings. But then this is like the full-time environment, so you get there and then you do, a weights component or something, and then a field session or whatever it may be. So that was a big shock. I knew I needed to put some size on. So, and I was never like a massive fan of weight training, but I had to just do my best. I remember like really struggling with some of the weights, and lifting in the academies. I was kind of like sort of middle of the road, which isn't great for someone that's trying to make it in the next step team. And then obviously getting put into that and being just way behind the 8 ball and just thinking like I'll never get there. Like, how can I get to that? But my conditioning was always pretty good, so that sort of made up for that. And then just all the video sessions. We just started wrestling sessions then as well. That was a massive wake up. The big pre-season days where you're doing some ridiculous conditioning sessions. Then I think we went to obviously doing the pre-season in the winter is challenging as well. So then we
can't imagine.
We went to Portugal for a week, which was an eye opener, to say the least. just transitioning through that, like your few larrikins. It was like, oh, okay.
Interesting. Is there anyone in the squad that really took you under their wing and taught you, I guess, those really crucial lessons as a rookie?
Yeah, there is actually. He captained St Helens, England and Great Britain. Chris Joint, he was in his last, I think it was his last year. He took me under his wing, but not like super seriously. He had a big soft spot for me. I was trying to make it as a back rower. He was a back rower. He did a lot for me. Took me under his wing, looked after me a lot. I can remember actually we were doing. So first day we did you 3-rep max in squat and 3-rep max in bench press. I'd do one and I think, maybe got more. And he's like, no, mate, just leave it there. Leave like 5K in the bag. And then when you come to repeat the test, shows you're improved. And I was like, okay, Joe. He was never one to.
That's a real veteran.
That's
a veteran move.
That's a veteran move. So what if you mate? You're the weakest lifter in here anyway. Like, who cares if you can put another 5 kilos on the squat rack, but just make sure you've got room for improvement. So show you can improve. So
good.
I don't know if that's the best advice for kids out there, but that's what I was brought up with. But big. Jointy was great for me. He really was, and he didn't need to be either. So yeah.
And so you made your debut, and then so the next year after making your debut, is that when you basically started playing full time, or did it take you a few years? Because it says that obviously you already had leadership experience captaining England Academy in the famous series victory over Australia in 2004. So that was after you'd already debuted.
Yeah. So I'd already debuted. There was a number of us that came over in that under-18s team that had already played first grade. I'd played a handful of games in 2004, but probably wasn't quite ready to launch. I viewed that as those games as surviving, like just survive, just survive. And then it wasn't. We came away. Here, got back. I think I played maybe one game after I got back, but in that season, it was the 2004 season. St Helens won the Challenge Cup at Cardiff Millennium Stadium. Honestly, well, what a place to play a game. Saints v Wigan, and I'm just in the stands. And then I got to go onto the field. Like, here's the cup. I'm not played. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
I remember making a promise to myself: next time St Helens wins something, I want to be on. I'm going to be playing. I'm going to have my kit on.
Yeah, wow.
I can remember being around the Millennium Stadium, speaking to a guy called Apollo Perolini, who was one of the trainers there, and I said, next time they play in the final, I'm going to be playing. I'm going to have a jersey on. So that season finished. I think I played like 6 games, and then that 2005 pre-season, I was like, well, if you're going to get in the team, mate, you're going to have to. You have to show it. So I had a really big time away from. So that off season, I was ready to come back and rip in. So I was doing extra gym sessions, like hammering the conditioning. I mean, hammering it. So I came back in 2005, like to make an impression. Like, hey, look at me, coach. I'm ready to take this spot here. I'm ready for this spot. So it looked like there was a spot available on the right edge at St Helens. And I was like, well, pick me. And then I managed to get that spot for round 1. So I was stoked. I did okay. Probably not great, but it was doing okay. We left out, got dropped from the team after about 5 or 6 rounds. I was devastated.
Was that the first time you ever been really dropped from a side?
Yeah. When I thought like I'd earned my spot, and then I got dropped. Didn't really have the best communication around why I was dropped. I was sort of searching for answers. It was Ian Millward at the time. And I get he had other focus areas, and there probably wasn't there back then, or even now, to an extent, in a lot of the teams in England, there wasn't enough support staff there to perhaps recognise that like he needs some guidance about why he's being left out of the team. I did try to seek it, and I did try to get some answers, but I couldn't really get much clarity on that. So sort of was scratching my head for a little bit. Anyway, Ian Millward got sacked. There's an intern, and then Daniel Anderson came over. Just so fortunate for me. I love Daniel. I credit him with pretty much all of my development, taking me from that fringe first grade player to an international was down to him. So he comes in day one. He'd seen me play in that England Academy touring game. So he'd seen me play over here.
Because Daniel Anderson's from Australia, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah. He's the old Warriors Parramatta coach.
Yeah.
I think he works at the Roosters now. So he'd seen me play, fortunately. So he'd seen me play over here. He'd also, in one of those earlier games, we played Leeds. I played quite well in that game, playing on an edge. We were playing Leeds in Daniel Anderson's first game. So obviously he's looked at the tape. He's seen me play before. He goes, mate, you're coming off the bench this week. You're back in the team. I was like, oh, yes. He goes, where do you think you're going to come on at? I was edge back rower / middle, but you
wanted to be edge?
I wanted to be an edge. All due respect. So yeah, he goes, no. I was like, oh, you're a middle forward, mate. Your edge days are over. Get it out of your head. Coming on. This is what we want you to do.
Wow.
It's like, all right.
Yeah.
cheers, coach. And then from that moment on, I didn't really.
Did you appreciate the clarity, the real specific, mate?
Yeah, my head was clear.
Yeah.
I can remember having that conversation with him, and then a number of conversations after that. But I really didn't look back from that moment, and just maintain that spot in the side. And then that season finished. Handful, like maybe 20 or 30 games, probably 20 games under my belt, career total, including the ones from the year before. And then Daniel set the standard for me again. He's like, don't be giving yourself a pat on the back. Where are you now in the list of British front rowers? Okay, well, you want to play for Great Britain, don't you? Like, yeah. He goes, well, what are you I've got you at like 10th. You need to be in the top 4. How are you going to get there? And I was like, don't answer. That was the end of season review that he had with me personally. I was like, oh,
good direction.
Oh, mate,
really
amazing.
Clear.
So that was just for me to go, okay, well, I need to go and get myself in the top 4. I don't want to be 10th.
Yeah.
I want to be in that top 4. If I want to play for, if I want to, if I want to say I want to play for Great Britain, but I've got to go and do it, I need to get in that top 4. And he was amazing for me. He really was. I owe so much to him. It's
so interesting how, some I don't know, I don't want to be like, today's youth can't handle tough love or whatever, because I don't know. I really don't know, because I'm not in the systems anymore. But I do find it really interesting is like some people may have reacted to that very differently. Like, you're the 10th best front rower. They could have focused in on that and been like, oh, okay, so you don't rate me then. Sweet. But you reacted to, oh, okay, I've got a plan in place now. I need to know. He's given me where I need to be, and now I can focus on that plan.
Yeah, give me something to aim for.
Yeah,
like, we're very simplistic here. Obviously, there was some guidelines along the way, but give me something to aim for.
Yeah, for sure.
And go after it. Like, he can't help. Like, people can't hold your hand through your whole life. You got to take responsibility for your aspirations. Like, ultimately, it was up to me.
Yeah,
like he knew he saw something in me. He knew I had the potential. But like on the field, he can't hold my hand. Through all walks of life, he couldn't. But he sort of just helped me. So not plant the seed, but just put a bit of water on it and just get it going.
And so 2006, you come off the bench, the Challenge Cup final victory over Huddersfield. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that was the first final that Saints played in after that game in 2004. I made the promise to myself. So yeah, I remember it very well. It was at Twickenham. Me and there was about, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 of us that had come through together that played in that team as well. So incredibly special to share those moments with.
What do you remember? What's something that stands out in the game for you?
This is so bad. So me and James Roby, the best player I've ever played with. That's a side issue.
Wow, James Roby, did you say?
Yeah.
Wow.
So him and I had come through together. We'd both done our stint. We both come off. And we had one substitute left. The game was in the bag. I think it was like 5 minutes left. There was one sub left. And Daniel goes to us, who's going on? We both wanted to go back on to finish the game.
No way.
And he goes, you got to rock off for it.
No way.
And I won the rock off and go on.
The game-defining moment.
Oh, no, the game was gone.
The game was gone.
It was like 5 minutes to go.
Okay.
5 minutes to go, I think we were 3 or 4 scores ahead.
Yeah.
Because there's one sub left.
But you got to get it and finish the game,
I
do
got
these
to finish
ones.
the game,
Oh, wow. Does he speak to Roby at all?
We've never spoke about it. Well, we spoke about it after, but we've not spoke about it for, God, it'll be nearly like 15, 16 years. I'll have to bring that up. He's just signed to do another year. He's an absolute freak. So I'll bring it up to him when he retires for sure.
Who would have thought your rock, paper, scissors game would get you something so great?
Yeah, I know.
That's a clutch.
So that's
what did you go? Do you remember where you went?
God knows, mate. I can't recall. But yeah, we did a rock, paper, scissors to see who'd finish the game.
I reckon you went rock. And he went scissors.
Just the old rock.
Yeah, just
the old rock. I can't remember, but yeah, that's my recollection of the game. Is that the build up as well? I remember the build up and the nerves. But I was just a kid.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, I was 19 or 20, I can't remember.
Do you think I was fortunate enough just to be a part of the wider squad of the Broncos 2006, so I wasn't, when they won it, but I was just part of the wider squad. But I didn't appreciate what I was involved with. We were holding the pads for them before they went down to Sydney, and the training ground was packed full of Broncos fans. And I was almost just like la-di-da, like there's the boys. I know the boys. I've been with them all year. I hold the pads. Yeah, all right, sweet. Good luck, boys. And now I look back, I'm like, I was a part of something historic. And I didn't appreciate. Do you get the same feeling? What do you feel when you think back?
I think I was probably just in the moment.
Yeah.
And you do. I always stop to look and try and take a few mental photographs and singing the national anthem, walking out at these big stadiums. Like that was it. That was at Twickenham, that one, which was a bit strange. Like we did eventually get back to Wembley, which I can distinctively remember. But I don't know. Yeah, you're young. You're in the moment. You're enjoying it. You're having fun. Like you'd probably. Like I did stop a little bit to take it all in, but probably not as much as I would have liked to. And I guess that's part of that is just being young, isn't it? We often look back and go, I would have done that. Yeah. Imagine being there now. It's like, well, you were, but there's nothing you can do about it.
And so you get selected by Brian Noble in a friendly against New Zealand and score a try in your... Two tries
on debut, pretty much first touch as well. It
was way.
At Nosey Road, which is St Helen's ground, so it was a pretty strong New Zealand team as well. So, I got to make my British debut.
What's it like? Do you remember? What do you remember from that? Like, do you remember calling your family, representing your country? Like, that's something so incredible.
Yeah, I remember calling my granddad, and telling him it was pretty cool. Yeah,
it would have been a special moment.
Yeah, because. Yeah, and like telling my dad as well, and that's it. The people you can impact. It's just you at the time, and I didn't appreciate it. It was just like like a bit shy and a bit almost embarrassed. But you look back now and you're like far out, like the journey that those guys have been on.
Yeah.
Like, not that they were ever doing it for us, for me to make it or to play for Great Britain, but it means a lot, and they would have been happy if I'd have just given the game up at 19, but had fun as a kid. Like that's why Dad took me up and down the country or up and down the northwest, was because he saw something that his kid liked, his son liked, and never to make it, but. I know he was incredibly proud that day, as was my extended family as well. So that's pretty cool, and to do it at St Helen's, but again, like different. Just don't think there was any embroidery on the jersey.
Yeah,
it's just you're playing for Great Britain. It was like, right, let's go and do it.
What was it like looking down and seeing that famous red and white?
Yeah, well, that's what British kids aspire to do. That's what they aspire to do, and I was blown away. I really was.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. So you scored 2 tries, and then also you reached the 2006 Super League Grand Final contest against Hull FC. Played from the bench, and you got a 26-4 victory. Mate.
Yeah, so that 06 season, it's probably one of the greatest St Helens teams that have ever lived.
Wow.
Throughout history. That's what they're up there with. There's a couple in the 60s that were pretty amazing as well, and the present day team as well. It's up for debate who the best ever Saints team was, but it was part of that team in 06. Very special, an incredibly tight knit group of players. Probably just. I don't know if that was the worst thing to happen to us to win the treble. We went on to beat the Broncos the year after.
Yeah, I
in
was
the
just
World
about
Cup
to say.
Challenge.
What was that like playing like the NRL?
Yeah, that was crazy.
That would have been. Was Lockie in that playing in that?
I think they were.
Would have been like Carmichael would have been there. Hodges would have been there.
They had a stacked team. I remember they had a stacked team and just being like, wow, this is. Yeah, I played against obviously the Australian schoolboys team, but this was like a game against an NRL team.
Yeah.
That was that was cool.
Got the dub too, 18-14.
Yeah, it was one of those topsy-turvy games, and just managed to get it at the end. Paul Sculthorpe. It was cool.
And so basically, 2007, you really make a name for yourself. You get nominated for Young Player of the Year, and you win for your club, I think, and then nominated in the Super League. Then 2008, you get named in the Super League Dream Team, and you also win the Man of Steel award. This is your 4th successive St Helens player to win it, in the prestigious award. Is 2008 the year where you really, I guess, went from a first grader to, now I'm not necessarily a leader in a team, but a player in a team that needs to make an impact. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. 08, I can remember, I think we lost a couple of middle forwards, and then I sort of adopted the responsibility to take control of that middle of the field. Was probably a big minute player. I knew my teammates were relying on me to do a big job, and I had to step up. 2008 was not what you call like a breakout year, but certainly something a year that catapulted me into like a super important role and the leadership role as well within the group. That was, that's when your halfbacks had turned to you and be like, Jamie, we need you to do this. Yeah. Where, previously, just get on and do your job. But it was like, no, we need you to sort of, had good relationships with my dummy halves always. But it's like, no, mate, we need you here. Yeah. Like, this is on you. Yeah. I was like, oh. Wow. Okay, well, I want to do it because we'd lost some, like I say, some experienced front rowers, and you'd got game time sort of jumped to, sort of 3/4 to, 80-90% of most games that we played, like game time, like I say, on the field. So I knew the level of responsibility was high. Where does the Man of Steel rank for you? Look, it's an individual award. Looking back, you have time to reflect on your career. I'm pleased that I won. I don't know. I don't even know what the right word to use to describe it. I mean, it's an individual award, but like I'd give like a team medal over that any day, like absolutely any day. Like it's nice to be recognised, but for your individual contribution, but it's really not like you appreciate it, but it's not on the priority list for a rugby league player. Winning comps is. Yeah, absolutely. And like your name's there up amongst some, British greats that had gone before you, but I don't think I ever had a goal to win the Man of Steel. I had a goal to, try and win a Premiership, Challenge Cup, whatever it may be. But that again is probably more the people around you. Like, Mum and Dad have still got that trophy in the living room. I'm like, oh, can you put it away now? Like 14 years ago. It's interesting. I like have this weird, like with award shows, they feel a bit strange to me because it's like, and for a very long time I was like, I don't like award shows. It's all about me. Get up on the stage. How great am I? And it wasn't until I got a bit older that I realised the award shows aren't actually about the person that wins the award. It's actually about the people that love him around him or her. And I think it's almost an award to represent for them. Yeah. And that's why I think they're important. Like, I mean, I get the feeling for you, it makes you happy that it's made your family happy. Absolutely. That's a great way of summarising it, is that, and perhaps I didn't realise it at the time, but I know, like, my parents would have been, like, so proud. Oh, man, so proud. So proud. And I'd probably at the time I'd be embarrassed of that fact, but now I look back and I'm like, I'm like, to be able to give them that feeling is pretty cool. I imagine it's kind of like a graduation, They probably realised that I was never going to go to uni, so kiss that goodbye. There's my diploma. Yeah, it's a Man of Steel. Is this? I was in a sort of nice suit as well, so they got the picture with that. That's probably their way of saying, he's landed.
Okay, so you'd won by 2011. You'd won 2 grand finals and lost 1.
No, we'd won 1.
Yeah,
we won 3 Challenge Cups, the World Cup Challenge, but then we'd lost 07, 8, 9, 10, and then we lost 11 as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'd won 1, lost 4 by 2011.
No, lost 5.
5.
Thanks, mate.
Jesus. Hey, bro, you were in them. I wasn't even in them. Yeah, I was in the stands, in the nosebleeds. You were actually in them. I mean, the obvious answer is always like, yeah, I was gutted. Of course, yeah, 100%. But I guess every time that it happened and you were getting a bit older, were you becoming to realise, like, I need to learn something from this? I mean, I'm assuming the first one is like heartbreak. The second one is like, heartbreak. But then are you more coming around to, I need to take something out of this?
Yeah, I think we always took something out of it. Maybe didn't learn as much as what we should have done. But the thing I'm most proud of isn't like, people ask, oh, how did you keep getting back up? I was like, well, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Just to give it up.
Yeah.
Or stop. No, come on. And I don't know, I guess for me, I never even contemplated anything else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm dejected, I'm gutted, I'm devastated. And those losses would creep up on you. You know, you'd go on holiday or whatever and you're having a good time, and then
boom.
Oh,
yeah,
of course. Yeah. And then if that had have happened, I don't like that person that played for that team. And then he's celebrating and I'm here. I'm like,
Yeah.
So those thoughts, like it crept up on you.
Yeah.
But then, but then if we'd have won those games, I still would have been motivated to go and like give it a red hot crack the following season. Like tactically, could we have done things better or differently in some of those games? Yeah, in some of those games, you give your best, and the rugby gods don't shine on you for whatever reason. I remember in one of those games, the last one, 2011, played Leeds. We were in total control. We scored a try. They kicked the ball out on the full. Left with a decision. Do you take the 2? You kick it to touch? Well, we took the 2. But then what transpired from that is the next kick off, like, we lose 2 players for injury in that set of 6, or within the next, it definitely 1 in that set of 6.
Yeah.
I look back and go, well, I was the skipper that day. If we'd have kicked the ball and if we'd have ran, if we got the penalty on the halfway to Old Trafford short pitch, if we just kicked it into the corner, that player wouldn't have got injured. Who knows what would have happened? And you're like, but no, the right decision was to take the 2, because that put us 8 points ahead. It's the right decision.
Yeah.
Anyone would do it.
Absolutely.
But those are the things that you think about.
Yeah.
But I think if you look back and go, no, it was the correct decision to do that. Would we have tactically done things in hindsight? Yeah, of course, beautiful thing. But more to the point is, I just don't understand how. Well, sorry, no, I do understand how some people can't understand you for getting back up and going again, and how that would, deject them or haunt them. But I was very determined for that not to be, the defining moment. I was fortunate to win a competition with St Helens in 2006, but I was never going to let that just be it. And it took me to the very end to win another one.
We'll get to that fairy tale. We'll get to that. Okay, so 2011 rolls around, and there's plenty of NRL clubs that are interested. Was this something that, was it always a plan to eventually go to the NRL, or was it something that as the years got closer to the eventual decision, you started to think, maybe I want to give the NRL a crack?
No, so like I say, when I came on that tour at 15, I don't think I'd been on an airplane before.
Wow.
We'd been on some family holidays to France, but we drove down. Like I say, Mum and Dad did so much for us, but we certainly weren't spoiled, but they did their best, and that best involved us family trip with the 9 of us in a couple of cars down to France, which was fantastic fun as kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, never really been on an airplane. Come to Australia, I'm like, wow, people really care about their rugby league here.
Yeah.
And it's on a pedestal. And to be fair, it's hard for me to say this, but I did kind of like it over here. I was like, this is nice. This is nice part of the world.
Nice weather and
it's kind of
good standard of living.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. So sort of went back and reflection of my time in Australia, I was like, I think I was 15, just about to 10, 16, and sort of starting to dare to dream about where your career might take you. And I thought, the opportunity comes, I've got to go. Like, I have got to go. Yeah, then start making my way through the ranks at Saints, playing for England, Great Britain. Won some trophies there. I got to a stage where I was like, right, okay, I was coming off contract at St Helens. I think I'd done 9 seasons there. Option for a testimonial season if I re-signed. Saints were really keen to keep me, but I thought I need to go. Like, I've got to go. And the main reason I wanted to come, obviously I had that burning desire since I was a kid, but I got to a stage where I thought, for my life, if I stayed at St Helens, I knew the trajectory that was going to go. I could sort of knew we'd win some trophies. I was playing with mates, sort of knew where I'd be living. Kind of, life, roughly speaking, was kind of mapped out. But I didn't want to go down that route and then get to retirement age or like 40, 50 and look back on life and go, I wonder what life would have been like if you'd have gone.
Yeah.
Like, where would it be now? What would life be like? What player would I become? What person would I become? So I thought, well, I have to go and answer that question. So if I don't go and answer that question, I'll always look back and think, what if? Like, it's a big what if moment. So I thought, well, I can go. And if it doesn't work out, like, I can just come back.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not at St Helens, but I'd like to come back there. Like, they're going to look to find a replacement for me, obviously. But I thought I have to go and answer that question. Like, I can't live like this. So at the end of the 2010 Four Nations or whatever it was, I stayed over here and met a few clubs. And yeah, when it comes to the crunch, it wasn't really difficult for me it was difficult for me to leave St Helens. Like, I have a huge place in my heart for that club, still a St Helens fan. Part of that was the dream growing up, was captain St Helens and walking away from that to try something. But yeah, it wasn't easy, but fundamentally I had to go and answer that question. I just had to.
And so why the Bulldogs? What was the reason for that? Because it wasn't like you were walking into a squad that was, I know that you did turn into a powerhouse at the time, but it wasn't the most obvious decision.
No, it wasn't. I had interest from a couple of clubs, but I was really impressed by the sort of vision that the Bulldogs sold me. And I trusted people that they were going in the right direction. I probably didn't understand, looking back, I really didn't understand the dynamics of the NRL. And I didn't want to just come to the NRL. Like I said, what would life be like? That was very simplistic of it, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to just come and make up the numbers. I wanted to come and try and attempt to win something and be competitive. The Bulldogs really sold me their vision on where they were going as a club, what plans they had. So yeah, there was a couple of other options, but then really when it got serious, Bulldogs were the obvious choice, and I'm delighted I went there. So
you rock up to Doggies, and pre-season is in the heat.
Oh,
what was that first pre-season like for you?
Horrendous. Like, that was... Actually, can I get my passport?
Get me out of here.
I've answered that question.
Yeah.
What will life be like?
Hot,
horrible, humid. Get me home. No, it was tough. So previously as well, like, I hadn't done a proper pre-season for so long because being part of the national team.
Yeah.
Season in England starts the first week of Feb. So you're playing trials mid-Jan. Didn't really get that full block of conditioning. And then also back there, you're training. It's the pre-season's in winter, so it's different. Like it's hard, but a lot of the time the grounds are frozen. You can't do as much as what the trainers would like. But then obviously rocking up to Canterbury in the summer, and Des had just come as well. So everybody was out to make an impression. Yeah, and Des's pre-seasons were just horrendous, and I think everyone will vouch for that. And a lot. And I know Canterbury had a reputation for training hard, but I think Des took that to a new level just with the amount of training. We did so much. I can just remember being overwhelmed by the sheer amount of time we spent there. Yeah, okay. And even just adjusting to Sydney, something simple. Yeah. Coming from England, adjusting to Sydney traffic. I was like, what is going on? Why is it taking so long to get to
10 minutes away is an hour away?
We're going to 12 kilometres. It's going to take me 45 minutes.
Torture.
What's that all about?
Yeah, it's far out.
So that took a bit of adjusting, and the heat was... Mate, it was difficult. It was really difficult. But going into that super competitive environment where everyone's out to impress, Premiership winning coach comes in, everyone's like, "Well, I want to stay." We know the season prior, I think the Bulldogs had finished 9th or 10th. Everyone's out to make an impression because they want to stay under this coach, and it was very, very competitive environment, but a great environment nonetheless. But and then for me, that addition of the weather, my poor old skin, it took.
Were you lathered in sunscreen every day?
Yeah, but I probably didn't appreciate it until a couple of years at Zinc, because obviously you put the cream on.
Yeah, and it sweats off.
As soon as you sweat, it's like it's in your eyes. So I'm running, trying to run with eyes half closed. But, there was I had a bad case of the blisters as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on week 2.
Oh no!
And on the back of the heels. Oh, but, you just. But it's one of them.
And they just get worse and worse and worse.
You can't moan.
Yeah.
You just got to crack on. Yeah. You've just got to crack on.
Strap them up.
Yeah, just pad them.
Soft white stuff on them.
Just crack on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. But then, the length of the pre-season, it's I only started back, I did some weights in the December, but then started back for real in the January, February. I was like, I just couldn't wait for the season to kick off because I was overtraining. Yeah. And some of those poor lads had been in since November the 1st. It was like...
Just getting flogged. You don't see a football for the first 2, 3 or 4 weeks now.
Brutal. Yeah. Absolutely brutal in that heat as well. I remember there was a 40-degree day. We had this fan day up somewhere, and we went to big day out after it as well. And it was 40 degrees.
Yuck.
And I just was like... I drove to big day out. I had a car spot at P1. I was like, I'm going. This is... joke. I am not designed for this. It was 40 degrees. It was 2012. I was like, get me out of here.
Okay, so the first year, what I wanted to ask you, the Bulldogs, I feel really, I don't know if they invented it, but I feel like they definitely began the trend of ball playing forwards. So, usually it was you had front rowers that took hit-ups. They might run in twos, but it's usually just to make sure that you keep defenders off them. But I really feel like the Bulldogs were the first to go, no, as a front rower, you can actually hit out the back, and you can actually even 2-pass and then hit out the back as a front rower. Was that an active... Did you have a big say in that, or was that from Desi? Because it's really interesting that you from a young age felt that you needed to introduce that to your game, and then you were a big part of that being introduced to, the NRL.
Well, I'd always had that sort of shape around me in England. I'd used that quite effectively. I used to, be quite insistent that the players around me give us shape, give us options, create fatigue in the men. Create fatigue, not just physical fatigue, because as a defender, you can just make those one-out tackles all the time. But if you've got to actually think and be constantly asked questions of, it fatigues you mentally. So I wanted to try and do that. So I'd always encourage support. And then to be totally honest with you, I think we just had some forwards who could play with the ball. We had Des as a bit of a visionary that would watch games from like Eagle Cam, and he'd go, well, okay, well, if we do that, then look at all this space that's created.
Oh,
here.
mate. It would strip teams of numbers constantly.
From my recollection, it was a bit of both. It was myself, Cassiano, Tolman, that all liked to play with the ball. Eastwood, Finucane a little bit later on. But Corey Payne to an extent. So all the forwards were naturally quite comfortable. I was always used to it, and I think it was sort of we'd do some scrimmage like 13 on 13 in the practice sessions, and it sort of just came from that. And I think maybe Des perhaps had watched some of my previous games, see me do it, and then sort of introduced it to us as a way to play. But it went from a couple of forwards passing the ball to one another to actually it was basically our integral game plan where it was, that was our setup.
Yeah.
Each and every setup, roughly speaking, was, we'd get to a point on the field and we'd have that shape of middle halfback edge, to look to play all the time. It was always an option to play. There was structure to it. About where we were required to get to, and I just don't think at that time defences were ready for those options, and it just fatigued them, and just it took them like a real season to get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that year, you make your grand final in the first year. I mean, what was like your first year in the NRL? You're going to a grand final. What was the build up like? Were you taken aback by it? Were you used to it? What was it? Yeah,
well, I've been involved in so many in England, and it was nothing like it's an event here. Yeah, it's an event. It's a week-long event with the lunches and the media access and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it didn't go to plan. Melbourne were fantastic, and they really shut us down defensively. With there's some, I think there was like 4 or 5 times. Who was it? The winger for Melbourne, just kept blocking those plays. Benny Barber out the back. Sisawanga, yeah, that was it. And just shut us down. It was a masterstroke from Bellamy, and we sort of didn't really have a plan B. Well, so we did have a bit of a plan B, but we just couldn't get to it. You look back now and you go, just early kicking behind and away we go. But fair play to Melbourne, they got the victory. But yeah, it was probably looking at it, and in terms of where the vision of the club was sold to me, probably wasn't expected to be, competing for a grand final in season 1. That was probably expected 2 or 3 seasons away.
Yeah, wow. And so was it a bit of a bittersweet season for you? Because you get all the way to the grand final, you have a great year, but you lost it,
Yeah, I mean, probably, again, wasn't expected, but, you get yourself into that position where your expectation now is that you're going to win it. We were minor premiers. Probably not too dissimilar to, you look back and you go, oh, yeah, but you would have taken that from the start, but it's not the start.
Yeah. The standards have changed.
Yeah, the standards have changed. It's not, like I say, not too dissimilar to the Broncos this year.
Sure.
Where the people go, oh, yeah, but you would have taken, we didn't expect you to be in the top 8, or we had you around that middle 8. But, it's a pass because you would have taken it at the start of the season, but it's not the start of the season.
Yeah.
They were in a position to make the top 4.
Yeah.
But, would you have taken that at the start of the season? Absolutely. But it's not the start of the season.
Yeah.
At round 18, would the Broncos have finishing 9th? Well, no. They wouldn't. And that was similar to that Bulldogs 2012 season where you go, at the start of the season, make a grand final, absolutely, where do we sign?
Yeah.
But then when we got there, it was no, not make it, win it.
Yeah.
Well, that's football, that's life.
Yeah, it's like when you say, and it's furthering your point, you would have taken that at the start of the season. You are not the same, as the start of the season.
Yeah.
So
you're not.
It's just not the same.
No, it's just not the same.
Okay, so you end up getting back into the grand final 2014. and this was against the Rabbitohs.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it different build up this time? Was there a memory? Was there talk about the fact that you'd lost not that long ago?
There was always talk about losing so many, but it's not the same. And then the Bulldogs had come from nowhere that season. That season in 12, we minor premiers. 14 come from 7th. Not expected to be there, but we were. And obviously the build up was around the two British players not just the two British players, but the two, Sam Burgess is
big Sammy.
He's the man for Souths, and he's from England, and James Graham from the Bulldogs, he's from England as well.
Walk us through that first tackle. How? Yeah, it was written in the stars.
There was so much build up. Sam and I. Oh, excuse me.
That's right.
Sam and I are great mates.
Yeah,
great mates. But we knew that there was a sideshow there with being from England. We'd clashed in the past on the field. Nothing too bad, but just, I'm trying to do the best for my team. He's trying to do the best for his. I don't care what colours he's in, whether it's for Bradford Bulls or South Sydney or whoever, Bath. I don't care. If I was playing the opposition team, we're going to come together. We play in the middle. So there was a lot of talk in the build-up to it about, this Battle of Britain and what's going to go down. And they probably couldn't have scripted it any better, could they?
My God.
I remember Michael Innes had got injured in the semi against Penrith. It was like, our captain's gone. They nominated me and Trent Hodkinson shared the captaincy. So I remember going up to do the toss. I was desperate to kick off. Won the toss, kicking off, okay, here we go. Sorry.
You're getting tired thinking about it. You're like, oh man, my head.
Fucking hell,
my noggin.
Again. We're kicking off. I remember I wanted it to go right because that was my favourite shoulder. I wanted to make an impact at the start. Said to Trent Hodkinson, make sure you kick this deep to the right, but then I look and I'm like, hang on, that's Sam back there.
Yeah.
What is he doing there? Because he was playing 13. 13s aren't supposed to stand back there.
Yeah.
But he knew. He went, and he said this, he went back there to take the first run.
He wanted it.
He wanted it.
Yeah.
And I wanted that first bit of action. So I was like, well, I remember thinking oh shit. I wish that was Dave Tyrrell. Not Sam Burgess. But no, it's Sam. And then I remember saying, Trent, Hocko, lad, just kick it deep. I need you to kick this deep, mate. So he does, and I'm hurtling down there, and I was like, oh shit, here he comes. And then I remember just hitting him with everything I had, but our faces sort of collided. So cheek. People don't realize it was cheek on cheek.
Yeah.
It wasn't accidental shoulder contact to the head. It was cheek on cheek.
Yeah.
Just and for those people that say, oh, you meant it. Are you actually are you actually in? Think about how difficult that would be to actually try and accomplish.
Think about how dangerous that is.
For
yourself.
Yeah, for yourself. But just how difficult that would be to actually execute
impossible
at that speed. To go, I'm going to try and do that.
Yeah. It's just so dumb. So dumb.
So we sort of we collision, we come out of it, and I'm like, ooh. And then we just sort of cracked on with the rest of the game for a little bit, and then it wasn't until Bulldogs made a mistake, and we're at a scrum, and I've just gone oh shit, Sam, you all right? He's like, I'm like, mate, seriously, you all right? And he's like, it's fucking hell, bitch, it's bad,
it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Trying to sort of get in his head to get him off. But, no, that was the beginning. But we just, we let ourselves down that day. The Dogs, we were desperate, and we were willing to be desperate, but we were desperate in the first 20 minutes defending our line, and we just didn't have enough. South were. It was written in the stars for South Sydney. It really was, and I give full credit to them. But Bulldogs just didn't give ourselves the best opportunity to win that game. We saved our worst for last, which was Yeah, unfortunate, but yeah, that's football.
So with the Bulldogs, like this is such an interesting time in the club because it was so dramatic in regards to, Desi Hasler getting moved on, but he just got re-signed, and then, there's one party saying that it was Desi's fault, he back-ended all these contracts, and then there's another party saying, well, Desi doesn't sign the contracts, it's a chief accountant and chief financial officer. And so there is just so many conflicting stories. And obviously you only know so much, but, what was it like for you personally in that situation? And eventually you obviously moved to the Dragons.
Yeah, look, my time at the Bulldogs didn't end how I would have liked it to. But I don't look back and be bitter about it, and that's very important. But at the time, it was a little bit of that was going on. It's their fault.
Yeah.
I never really got to the bottom of it. I don't know if I need to. I was very grateful for the Dragons, especially Paul McGregor for making me feel valued again. I left. Basically, I knew what was going on, but I trusted some people that I went for answers and probably didn't get them. Like, I knew we were going to be over the salary cap, but I wanted to be, at the time, I wanted to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
I didn't want to look for the door.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I want to fix this. I want to be part of the solution. It was, in no uncertain terms, it was made clear to me that if I didn't leave, we wouldn't be playing for points because we were too far over the cap.
Wow.
Well, I was like, well, that's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, you've signed these players, not me.
Yeah.
Like, why? And then it was, the more I thought about it, it was like, well, okay, perhaps, a change would be good for me. I think it was. But again, I got to stress this: I don't look back at the time of the Bulldogs and go, "Oh, well, the relationship was finished on a bad note, so then therefore it's all bad." Like most relationships in life, they finish on that mostly negative note.
Yeah.
Like through, whether it's a personal relationship or a relationship with a football club, it ends, unharmoniously, kind of thing. And it did, but that doesn't mean I look back badly. Could things have been handled better at the time? Absolutely. Do I understand why people said or behaved the way they did? I get it. But when you're on the receiving end of it, you kind of left a little bit disappointed. But again, that's not to overshadow the fact that, all the relationships I look back on and smile, and I'm glad they happened. But yeah, it was disappointing. I was very, very upset that last game to leave, but that's part of life, isn't it? Sometimes you do things that you don't want to do, and then a new door opens up and a new challenge, and onto the Red V it was.
Do you, that might be a tough question, but do you think Desi's a premiership coach? Do you think he...
I do, yes. I think he... I think he is. Does he likely need to change a few things? I think he does. You can... Des loves to be in control.
Yeah.
And he tries so hard to do everything. And he's very... he struggles with giving responsibility away and decision-making away without it being checked off by him. I'd like to see him give some more responsibility to people. But again, I've not worked under Des for 5 or 6 years, but I'm if he was still like that, that's likely where he needs to change. I think I was speaking to someone about Craig Bellamy down in Melbourne, saying, "Oh no, but Des is just like Bellamy, where they've got to control everything." And they said, "No, that's how Craig used to be."
Yeah, but
he evolved and give people ownership of decisions without them having to check into him. I don't know if Des is on that route or not, but that certainly was happening towards the back end of the time at Canterbury. Now he's obviously at Manly. He did really, really well last year, top 4. They started the season dreadfully, and perhaps we do overanalyze. If you look at their season this year, you go, well, they just beat Melbourne. They were primed for spot in the top 4, and let's not forget, notwithstanding they lose Tommy Trbojevich, they're clearly their best player.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Pride jersey fiasco, where again there's a bit of that going on.
Yeah.
You're like, well,
yeah, it's not a good recipe for success.
And then everyone looks and goes, "Oh, Des is the problem." It's like, well, is it?
Yeah. There's so many other things that we can literally see going on that's not even his control.
Yeah. But like anyone, we all look to learn and grow. No one's immune from criticism or making mistakes. And I fundamentally, like, the important thing is I know Des would work harder than anyone. I'd be willing to walk to the edge of the earth for him. Like when I was under, or like when he was me gaffer.
Yeah.
I would have done anything for him.
Yeah. Wow. You're right, though, in regards to Bellamy. I think it's a very underappreciated thing. Bellamy has changed a lot as a coach. And I don't think people, we see the blow-ups in the coach's box or whatever, but he has evolved massively over the last 20 years. And, if you've been watching him closely, even the characters he has in his team, 10 years ago, he wouldn't have had guys like Munster Cheese. But he realises that the generations have changed, and you need to, and it's like, who am I to speak on Bellamy's, talent? Like, but outside looking in, he's improved and changed dramatically. Yeah, and you've got to, because each generation is a little bit different.
And the game evolves, the play evolves. If you look, having this, I reckon Melbourne have still got their core values around play the ball speed. But then you look at how they attack, they've gone from that structure, which would be very regimented. You look to, this is how we break down a team, where now it's that instinctual style, that those players that can just, boom, think on the move and go. Okay, but then there'd be some structure to help create that environment, i.e., we're going to put Big Nelson on an edge, that's going to, go into their 3 defender. We need you to do this for us, Big Nelson, because what this is, the plan is to generate a quick play the ball, and then, hey, Munster, Pappenhausen, Hughes, boom, just go. Yeah. And here's some little things that you might do, but fundamentally, you're going to be facing this situation. We'll practice for this situation or that situation, and here you go. You own it now. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you to put this player here or out the back, or get on the 2-man, the 3-man, or go back at the middle. Just, hey, here's some options. Here's what it might look like. Yeah. But if it doesn't, it might look like this, and then go. Yeah. Here's the initiative. Yeah. It's where I don't think that necessarily would have happened. It would have been more, okay, here we are to the point. We're going to do this to the B, to the C. Yeah. And then we score in the corner. Well,
Ken Smith says the loss after Cronulla in the grand final, that's when they changed their game. They said they can't continue their attack just wasn't what it needed to be in the new era. And then you're right, like they're an attacking powerhouse now. And their whole spine is totally different to their old spine. Billy Slater-Cronk, Widdett for a period, and Smith, very different to Grant, Munster, Hughes, Pappenhausen. Like they're not even close to the same kind of players.
And there's a difference between, as well, there's a huge distinction, and a lot of teams do it. The really good teams do it well, where they don't play laterally, because you get caught by playing lateral, but you play with width. And there's a key distinction. You play too lateral, and it's just hands. You don't really go anywhere. Yeah. But if you play with width, it's just that long ball out of dummy half.
Yeah, Harry Grant does it so well.
Yeah, and you have a guy there disguised that might take the ball. So as a defender, you mark up on him, and before you know it, the ball has travelled not back. It's almost like a line ball across. Yeah. And they play with width, which moves the defence, and it's like it's fantastic when it's done well. It's so difficult to stop. Yeah, like it's so difficult to.
It's all in the advantage line too. So the decisions are
width at the advantage line, not lateral. Yeah, width at the advantage line. There's a huge difference.
Okay, so you decide to go to the Dragons. Mary McGregor gets you there. How would you sum up your time at the Dragons? You'd made finals footy twice or once?
Nah, just that first year in 18.
And you beat the Broncos.
We beat the Broncos, yeah. We were. That season in 18, look back on and go, well, that was a big what if. And we talk about the rugby league gods, they just weren't shining on us. Yeah. So that was the year we were dominating that competition, but then they relaxed the rules. So that was the big crackdown on penalties, heaps of penalties. Okay. We were really disciplined, but then there was media commentary, pressure from the game where it's like, oh, we're sick of watching this. You've got to let the game flow. But they were so close. I believe the NRL was so close to getting teams to conform because it was getting frustrating.
Yep.
And then what we realised is we'll stay disciplined. Yeah. The other team can lay on, but we'll get the penalties and we'll eventually take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Plus, we had a really strong roster. Everyone was fit. Then I think we lose Paul Vaughan, who was playing State of Origin that year. We lost him with like 2 rounds to go, season-ending injury, which was like, fuck. And then we in that game against Brisbane, we won, but we lost Gareth Widdop with his shoulder.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And he was playing some great footy.
Mate, he was the best 6 in the competition by a country mile. But then you lose him. Like, what are we going to do? Like, lose, and then we played South Sydney. I'd been knocked out the week before. 6 days later, I played, but yeah, I won't go into too much about that. But then we lose Tarek Sims. They score a couple of tries down his edge where Simsy would have been. Yeah. You know, and then I think Adam Reynolds kicked 3 field goals. Yeah. But then hey, if we'd progressed, like we were busted. Yeah. Like Sims had gone, Vorney had gone, and Widdop had gone, and you're like, yeah. Like your 2 Origin forwards and the best 5, like the main attacking weapon. And you know, you're left to wonder. Yeah. You're left to wonder about what might have been. Yeah. But hey,
footy,
as we say. And then but we gave it everything that year. We really did. You know, the following couple of seasons didn't go to plan. There was some external reasons as to why that was. Some big changes structurally, how the NRL were handing out their punishments. So, it certainly didn't finish how I would have liked it to.
And you were there with the whole Paul Mary McGregor, I guess, saga. I guess, was that tough for you? Because I feel like you had quite a good relationship with Mary.
Yeah, really, really tight relationship with him. I value his friendship a lot, and you know, to see a man that you admire sort of getting attacked was difficult, and I didn't like it, and I tried for my performances and I tried to motivate the group to perform for him, but it just wasn't working. There was just too many distractions that were happened in 19 and then in 20 as well. That lingered on, and then COVID hit, and I think I'd left before Mary got sacked.
So you leave, you go back to St Helens, and you play in the 2020 Super League Grand Final. You win 8-4 in a dramatic finish, and just that incredible video of you standing after, just going like, "This is the last game," and just amazing. I posted on my social media when it happened. Walk us through that grand final and just to end your career on that, mate. Come on.
Yeah, it couldn't have been scripted any better. And like all good sporting stories, there's plenty of subplots.
Yeah.
You know, from my own personal experience, we'd been through the COVID lockdown. We played 2 games to start the season, the 2 games after that, and we lost. The Dragons lost to the Dogs, and I was gonna stop playing straight away with immediate effect.
Yeah, well.
Got on the phone to Paul Wellens, a good friend of mine back in England. Long story short, he was saying like, Luke Thompson's coming to us. I was like, no, it's next year. He's like, no, it's coming now. Option there. We spoke to Christian Wolf, Mike Rush, the CEO and coach of Saints. Got a deal sorted pretty quickly. But hey, moving across the world is difficult.
Yeah, with kids.
And doing it in a global pandemic is even more difficult.
Holy.
But then also the plan was to move for 6 months and come back. Yep. So it wasn't like, okay, we're going on like a 3-year deal. We'll get used to life there. Or
We're
going to go and then
come
back to Australia. So it was bizarre, from visas getting knocked back to, trying to organise flights in a pandemic and all that sort of stuff. It was get the house, up for rent, all that sort of stuff. It was bizarre. Obviously, go there, knowing it's my last season. We actually went and wasn't sure that the season was going to kick off. Like that wasn't guaranteed at the time. St Helens weren't doing particularly well in the table at that moment in time either. So, it was a bit of a it was a huge decision. It was like, well, okay, I'm not going to end my career here in Australia. Going to go back there with this opportunity to win a premiership, but then I had to be really careful with how I went back. It's not the same club I left.
Yeah,
it's changed. I'm not the same person.
Yeah,
I need to be really mindful of how I act, behave, the way I talk. Even like you go into England camp and you don't mention the NRL because. All that sort of, it's all good, joke, light-hearted banter, but it's like, okay, sometimes I go to wind the trainers up. Oh, in the NRL, we never lifted like this. So I made a bit of a joke of it, but still, I had to be mindful of that. Yeah, but it was great. I went back. James Roby was still there, someone I came through with. Really good older crew.
Yep.
And we get to that. The season comes back on. We start playing. We're playing really well. Get back up to near the top of the league and make our way in the playoffs. But just like a lot of good sporting stories. There's great subplots and a social backdrop happening. So there's no crowd at the game. We were in a national lockdown. We're playing at the KC Stadium in Hull in front of no fans, and it was. Yeah,
eerie.
If you were to script how a final would go, that we've not even mentioned the fact it's the biggest derby in rugby league as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
St Helens, Wigan. Like we've not even got to that.
Yeah,
crazy. And still all these little subplots. Myself and Sean O'Loughlin, a legend of Wigan, he's retiring. Like our careers were gonna get again. We had both had the same desired outcome. Yeah, we couldn't share it. Only one of us could get it.
Yeah,
and, there was no next season then.
Yeah,
like it's that or it's nothing.
Yep.
It's
the rest of your life thinking about that last game.
Yes, exactly. So from it, I say this like it was the most. I think that'll be the most important day of my life.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like. It puts a cap on a career of just contentment, I assume. Like for you, just like,
yeah. It didn't make up for any of those losses, but it certainly helped.
Oh, mate,
and it helped with my just how I thought about the future, the way I act now, put me at peace.
So walk us through the game, and if I recall correctly, there was it was a very close game, but the deciding moment was a kick that bounced poorly. But walk us through the game.
So there was only, prior to that, we'd scored 2 penalties. So we were 4 up. Then Wigan scored, missed a conversion. This is obviously a very quick summary of how the game was. Then with about 90 seconds to go, Wigan received a penalty about 45 metres out. And I've just gone, here we go again. This is it. They're going to win 6-4. It's like, it's done. In fact, I think I booted something. Oh, really? I was like so angry. I was like, this is just not, like, why did we give that penalty away? And then anyway, so taking the conversion, Tommy Makins catches the ball, runs it back. It's chaos, but we trained for chaos. We were comfortable in chaos. Everyone's like, right, okay, we're back on, make our way down the field. And the plan was get to the point, and our left winger, Tommy Makins, comes in to take the field goal. He's about 40 metres out, and he strikes his field goal. As the ball gets passed from dummy half, the siren goes. So this is in itself, it's like you get the field goal to clinch the final at 1 point. He smokes it. He runs off doing these ones.
Yep.
Hits the bar, bounces down. Or did it hit the crossbar? I can't. Anyway, it's just a schmozzle.
Yep.
But Jack Wellesby's chased down along with some of the other St Helens players, but that was in the DNA to chase lost causes. And look at the ball bounce. Bevan French sort of miscues the ball. Jack Wellesby's there to score the try. Total elation, but I'm just like, whoa, hang on a minute. We don't know if he's onside, don't know if he's grounded, don't know if he's put a foot in touch. Like, what? Like, this could be the greatest moment that never was. Just hold on. And obviously we see it now with VAR in sport, and you can't be
too sure.
You got to wait. I wasn't doing anything till the word try went up on that screen.
Yeah.
So I'm like watching it. I'm like, I don't even know. I just don't know. Then he cleared, he's on, and then I heard the Wigan bench cheer saying he's offside. I'm like, oh, right, okay, well, extra, all is not lost, kind of thing. And then the fourth official came up to me like, James, he's going to give it. I was like, mate, go away, because I'm just going to wait. I don't care.
Don't do this to me.
No, wait. And then those three letters came up, and pandemonium, like just internal combustion. I was just freaking out. And then I was so grateful for that club to give me that closure and put me at peace. Like, I owe a lot to Jack Wellesby, Mike Rush, Christian Wolf, and all the extended playing group. It was it meant the world to me. Like, I say this all the time, like rugby league, it's a made-up game with made-up rules, but it brings communities together and it makes grown men cry. Like, how cool is that? Yeah. Like, what is it about sport that does that? It's like, you win and you cry. Like, it's bizarre. You end your career and you cry tears of joy. It's so strange, but it speaks to the soul, and to do it with all the social backdrop of COVID and being in a national lockdown. And if anyone from the British government is listening, we kept our distance in our celebrations in the changing room. Of course. We all had our masks on the bus on the coach journey back. Yes. We were all in our kit still, but we all, of course, had our masks on. And just went home
and enjoyed.
And didn't celebrate at all for a couple of days after. I was actually looking into how gatherings could happen during the global pandemic. Now, if you were to have an organised protest, that was allowed, so we looked into doing that. But we came out of national lockdown on the Wednesday. Now, bizarrely, this is so bizarre. One of the rules of coming out of national lockdown is you could go to the pub, but you could only go to the pub with members of your own household. You couldn't meet people there. Yeah, okay. It's bizarre. So what's the point in going to the pub? Yeah. But if someone that you knew happened to be there, you could keep your distance. Yeah. You had to keep your distance. But if they were there and you were there, then that's fine. But not on the same table, or hey Billy, how's lockdown? Shit, yeah, me too. Annoying, isn't it? I wish I could come over to you, but I can't. Got to keep 1.5 meters away. Yeah. Anyway, I thought, I know we can get around this. So I rang the landlord of one of the pubs in St Helens. Opened up on Wednesday, and he goes, yeah. I said, could we get 28 tables for one? He goes, yeah. Sam, then give us 28 tables for one on Wednesday afternoon, 3:00. All right then. So we walk, like, one by one, we walk into this pub, and I was like, lads, listen, like, this is a massive favour. Yeah. We can't be recording each other in there. Yeah. Like, can't carry on too much. We can't carry on. Like, it's national lockdowns ended. Families are going out. Like, we've sorted this. That we've got to be on our best behaviour. It was our presentation night after that as well, and we were like, we don't want to be too bad going into presentation night. And we've gone 28 tables for one. It's about 3 or 4 beers later. It's like the away end. So yeah, but all the staff and the landlord. I'm not going to mention the pub in case they get into trouble. But it was fantastic. Then we went to the presentation night after that, and we didn't keep our distance then either. So, but yeah, dude, it was some great memories. And although we would have loved to have not just the fans celebrate with us at the stadium, but also, our friends and family and loved ones, like we spoke about, they're a huge part of the journey, and likely probably means more to them than what it does to us. But unfortunately, we couldn't have those people with us that mean everything to us. Like my family couldn't be there at my last game. My partner and kids couldn't be there at my last game. My mum and dad couldn't, but neither could it. And it was the same for everybody else. We had Zeb Taylor, he was playing in his last game. He couldn't have loved ones, fly over from Australia. Couldn't have his wife and kids there either. So we were all in the same boat, but it we celebrated together, and there was no going off to different bars, hanging out or whatever. It
kind of made it even better because it brings you in.
It was just us together. Yeah. It was just us together for those next 2 days or 3 days. It was pretty special, and some fantastic memories made there. It really was.
When you're sitting behind I don't know if it was the podium, or I just remember footage of you by yourself behind. What are you thinking in that moment?
I remember it finishing. We've lifted the trophy. Like, I just wanted to take in as much as possible. This was the last time I was going to exit the rugby league field as a player. And I just remember looking around, trying to take it all in, but there was nothing really to take in other than the lights. And I wanted to be the last person off. I wanted to be the last person. I don't what does it matter? Like when you leave, but I was like, no, this is the lights out moment. This is the chapter closing. I still had some celebrations to do and whatnot, but for actually playing, this is going to be the last time
that you walk off that rugby league field.
Rugby league field in a playing capacity.
Yeah,
this is it. It's done. Even and I'd had those moments like you progress like into the finals. I'm like, this could be my last gym session.
Yeah,
this could be my last ever speed weight session, and then it is, and then it's like, I'll never have to do this bullshit exercise ever.
No more pre-seasons.
Yeah, I'll never have to do a Turkish get up or a speed. Like I still train. I still do weights, but it's
fun weights.
Fun weights. Like what I want to do, not this. Some of the weight things.
Oh, mate.
Like, who's invented this, and what are you going to get from that? Not knocking the sports scientists out there, but some of the exercises they get you to do are just so not doing. And then but leaving the field, I was like, oh man, this is it. Like, this is, you can pull a curtain down on this huge chapter of life, and it's over. And it's over exactly how I couldn't have dreamt it to go.
400.
Couldn't have scripted the ending any better. And I remember that overwhelming feeling. I was like, just try and take in as much as you can here, James. Just try and take it in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that made it better or worse, but I just, I think there was myself, Mike Rush, who was the St Helen CEO, but he was also, in a previous life, he was my under-11s academy coach. So he's been on this journey with me, and he was there. And Christian, and I was like, lads, you go. I just want to be the sort of last to go.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
Incredible. 423. That's just an amazing achievement, mate. We could talk honestly for hours. I feel like there's so many different areas, like we haven't spoken about your international career or anything like that. But mate, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. What an incredible career, absolutely incredible. And I just love the poetic ending. You know, that does not happen. That doesn't happen.
It's not supposed to, is it? It's not supposed to. I'm very fortunate.
You earned it.
Well, we earned it. The team did, and that's my family as well. My family and the team I played for, we earned it. It's I always get funny about I want to go and final. No, we didn't. We did.
Yeah.
We did. Or we lost it.
Yeah.
So But
Absolutely.
yeah, it was an incredible ride. I'll pay a price for it, no doubt. But it was a price that was willing to be paid. I owe most of the positive things in my life to the game. It gave me an opportunity. I was just a kid from Liverpool with, aspirations to make it in a sporting arena. I had to take that opportunity, and people around me really helped me. And from all those junior coaches to the professional coaches, mentioned Daniel Anderson. I'll be forever grateful for that, but fundamentally the gratitude is to the game. They give me the platform, the opportunity, and it's going to look like it's going to continue to give me an opportunity to lead an exciting life and whatnot. So yeah.
Mate, I think that's a perfect way to end this. Make sure to listen to the Buy Around, Head Noise as well. You got Apple, Spotify, YouTube as well. You type in the Buy Around on Instagram as well. Some of the biggest names in rugby league. Absolutely incredible interviews. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. Appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
Boom.